Alright, this is Big Boss at Foxhound Woods Ball, coming to you from Fort Lauderdale, and from my blog page over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I'm also repping the guys over at Acid Tactical, so you can check them out at acidtactical.com. Now, for all you guys that are movie buffs, I've become more of a movie buff myself over the years, and as you saw my blog work and some of my video work over the years, I've dabbled in movie reviews and stuff like that. I've done Range 15. More recently I did The Outpost, and now I'm going a little on the retro side this go around. I'm doing the 2012 remake of Red Dawn starring Chris Hemsworth, and I gotta say, for everything I understand as far as the world and geopolitics and what's going on in recent history involving China with COVID, Hong Kong, their human rights abuses involving the Uyghur Muslims, and all their other bad shit. I can easily say when they were redoing parts of the movie to try and satisfy the Chinese government, it did create the context of a Chinese subplot, even though they digitally altered everything to make it look like the North Koreans. With the final product, still it allowed for the idea of Chinese support in the movie, so I'm going to be explaining a little bit of that as we go through it, so sit back, bowl of popcorn, and enjoy.
Okay, Red Dawn. This is the 2012 remake starring Chris Hemsworth. Now, when we think of this particular movie, we might call it a bad remake of a 1980s cult film, especially because of the premise of North Korea invading the continental United States. Now, with that being said, in terms of the movie, originally, this is supposed to be the People's Republic of China invading the U.S., and with everything in the world right now going on involving China and its human rights issues, Hong Kong, COVID-19, and things like that, I figured it was a good idea to bring up Red Dawn, as it could pertain to something more toward the future. Anyway, this is a bit of a video review and an explanation for an interesting subplot idea that the creators of this movie may not have even thought of. Okay, we all know Hollywood sucks the cock of Beijing, so I won't go into too many details on that one, but when we look at it this way, invading the U.S. isn't exactly an easy thing with our defenses, but no spoilers on this one. However, when we think about it, if, for this scenario, North Korea was to invade, they would have to have severe help from China and Russia, and changes in both Beijing and the Kremlin would have to be to facilitate this. Other than that, as we go through this video, we can also see these particular signs show up as far as how the subplot goes for Chinese involvement with North Korean invasion as far as the premise of this movie, and I will be explaining more in 1 second. Okay, by now we all know about the 2012 remake of Red Dawn having North Korea in it instead of what was originally intended for it to be done by the People's Republic of China. Now, as I'm saying, that this creates an interesting subplot of Chinese involvement. Even if they don't officially have boots on the ground, they definitely gave a lot of material support to North Korea as far as the film scenario goes, most notably uniforms, weapons, and gear. Now, with that being said, we got this picture right here of a PLA issue uniform. This one is the Type 07 camouflage pattern, standard issue to all PLA ground troops. This picture right here, as you can see, the vests are exactly like the ones used in the movie, same kind of battle dress. So that gives good evidence of PLA involvement in the invasion for this particular movie. Another picture right here showing Xi Jinping, the bastard in chief of the Chinese Communist Party. This just shows that it's PLA issue. And this is a cool shot. Right here, look at William Lee's left arm. Chinese flag. And we can see it again right here in his fight scene with Chris Hemsworth in the finale of the film.
North Korea? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh, there is a bigger picture here. They had to have had help.
Think it's like this everywhere?
But I don't think they'd come all this
Okay.
way. Yeah.
This is where it really gets into the idea of the subplot I'm talking about, with China also having a hand in the North Korean invasion, because we know North Korea wants to reunite South Korea by force. China wants to keep North Korea alive as a buffer zone between them and the South Koreans in the U.S. Now, Chinese could be having boots on the ground to supplement the North Koreans. Chinese could have their forces along the border between North and South Korea. Aside from that, with that being said, in terms of this, why are the North Koreans using American Humvees? And if you see in some scenes continuing forward, a lot of the vehicles, that the Humvees particularly, have American-made .50 caliber machine guns on them. Now, keep in mind, the Browning M2 heavy machine gun has been in service since the 1930s, and we actually supplied weapons to China to fight the Japanese during World War II through a Lend-Lease policy, where we were helping out the Allies before America mobilized for the war after Pearl Harbor. Other than that, China got their hands on American vehicles like the .50 cal from the Korean War. When they interceded on behalf of North Korea, they also got their hands on .50 caliber machine guns from what they captured off vehicles we abandoned or they shot down. There was also the fact that the Humvee as well. Now, for China in this scenario, this offers plausible deniability, if anything. Even if there's enough Chinese troops to blend in with the North Koreans, this way, with knockoffs of American vehicles and American weaponry, it allows them to have a source of ammo with the .50 cal, because it's mainly manufactured in the US, as well as using knockoffs of the American Humvee. It allows them to have that plausible deniability capability. Other than that, as you see, the Wolverines are using captured weapons off the North Koreans. In this case, it would be the Type 58, which is the North Korean version of the AK. Chinese could blend that in with their stuff, which would be the Durenko Type 56. So, with that being said, plenty of evidence.
We can't go home. We can't keep running. What are we supposed to do?
I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna fight. Now this is easier for me because I'm used to it. The rest of you are gonna have a tougher choice. And look, I don't want to sell it to you. It's too ugly for that. That is ugly and it's hard. But when you're fighting in your own backyard, you're fighting for your family. It all hurts a little less and it makes a little more sense. And for them, this is just some place. But for us, this is our home.
Okay, now, in these particular sequences, we're going to see how seeds of rebellion are fermented, they're grown, especially when you have a scene like this showing. And this is where they kind of got it right to a very good point. In the case of Chris Hemsworth's character, he's a combat-hardened Marine from Iraq and or Afghanistan. In this case, considering the situation of the homeland being occupied, he's got to put himself back to being that Marine again. He's got to be a leader as on top of just being somebody who's been to war. And as far as this goes, that definitely shows something that not many people are going to understand. U.S. has been at war since 9/11, so you've got well over 1 million combat-hardened veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan, and if something like this goes down, how much you willing to bet they're going to be the first ones that are going to organize some level of actual resistance? That's one thing occupation armies don't consider as far as invading another land, especially if it's been at war fighting insurgencies for 2 decades. Now, this particular scene is definitely one that really encapsulates as far as guerrilla war goes. You have to have the support of the people for it to be successful. This was true in Vietnam, like for the Viet Cong. It was true for the Mujahideen. Now, as you can see, with the sequence playing, they're showing that the Wolverines are attacking the North Koreans directly, and they're trying to avoid civilian casualties. Quick bursts, or if they are going full auto, they're concentrating their fire on specific targets. They're not going in a spray and pray fashion. And this is where something like this would be successful in their case. They're gaining popular support from the people as they're growing. They're spreading that rebellion against the occupiers. And for any guerrilla force, that's pretty much what you need to dislodge any army.
Alright. Hopefully the little video segments I put together for this made a lot of sense to everyone. Now, when Red Dawn came out, it wasn't met with the kind of fanfare as the original. A lot of people pretty much shrugged it off as a mindless action adventure flick, or thought it didn't make any sense. But as I said, if you understand the history as far as the Korean War, China's involvement, as well as China's history of bad acts as far as theft of intellectual property, their human rights abuses, and things like that, as well as the reasons why they keep the North Korean regime propped up, things make a little more sense. Now, with that being said, what the movie got right? Well, in my opinion, as I said, with Chris Hemsworth's character being a Marine veteran and the situation he's put in where he's got to lead his brother and his high school classmates as a guerrilla movement for an asymmetric war against the occupying force, it would come off as fairly accurate in terms that there's a large percentage of the population now that are war veterans because of the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. That makes a lot of sense. There's also the fact of the matter that China does have a technological capability, and they've become over the years a pretty near peer threat to the US military in terms of their capabilities on paper, at least. But other than that, as far as everything else goes, practical effects and stuff like that, they made it pretty good. Yeah, they gave it a little bit of the Hollywood spin for dramatic effect. So the fuck what? It was a pretty damn good movie in that respect. As far as cameos go, Jeffrey Dean Morgan in there, he did pretty damn good for it. And for all my viewers that are horror freaks or into The Walking Dead, you remember Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Negan. Or for my comic book freaks, in the Batman vs. Superman movie, he played Thomas Wayne. But in that perspective, I think the movie did pretty damn good, and it's one that I'll definitely recommend for viewing, especially for my more intellectually driven viewers. But generally speaking, this is a pretty damn good action movie. A lot of good sequences as far as choreography, in terms of fights, in terms of the shooting, and aside from that, it was a pretty damn good movie. Now, if you want to see the written version of this, which I get into a lot more details on my subplot idea and the scenario surrounding it, check that out over at outerheavenpaintball.blogspot.com. I will put a link in the description to this video. Anyway, this is Big Boss, and I'm out of here.
I almost forgot. Outer Heaven Paintball is now on Teesprings. Yes, that's right. I am now selling merchandise related for Outer Heaven Paintball, a mix of politically incorrect humor as well as funny paintball memes and stuff like that. My designs are continuously expanding every chance I get, so if you need something to show your love for my blog page, my YouTube channel, or just something that expresses your feelings about paintball and how you love the sport, check out teespring.com/outerheavenpaintball. Links will be in the description to this video, and don't forget to check it out, buy what you like, and keep checking back for more new products.